I'm First Sergeant Floyd, Missouri National Guard.
I'm Sergeant Christia, Missouri National Guard.
And what we're doing here today is just sort of kicking it around, discussing points of leadership, tenets of leadership, challenges that leaders face in the military. And we're just going to sort of flesh out those points, talk about some case studies, how you would handle certain things, and it's going to be pretty informal. So we're going to get started and start talking about these points.
Next question. This is a kind of a slippery slope and a very gray area on how do we utilize this particular group of individuals in your unit. The NCO Support Channel. Some organizations use it as, this is how I just relay information up the chain. Some people don't even use it at all. They just willy-nilly do whatever they want. The question I want to talk about is, what is the NCO Support Channel in your mind, and how do individuals, regardless of rank, leverage the NCO Support Channel not only for personal success but organizational success? Because remember, the NCOs are the backbone of the organization, and they always will be, because they are the leaders not only that can execute tasks and meet the intent of the commander, but they also are responsible for training and develop the troops to meet the standard and expectations that the military gives them. What are your thoughts?
For the channel to be effective, you look at the word that defines it, support.
Mm-hmm.
The NCO has to be willing to provide support to the subordinate to solve a problem. Now, it's our nature to solve a problem at the lowest level. Oftentimes that means solving it at the NCO level so that we don't have to get officers involved with paperwork and signatures. We can solve it at the NCO level, but you have to be able to rely on your first line E5, then the E6, then the platoon sergeant, ultimately the first sergeant, to get involved. So that means you have to have that confidence that that's going to happen. So if that relationship isn't already being nurtured between superior and subordinate, that's the first issue. So you have to be, as a troop, you have to be confident that your NCO channel, up to me, is going to respond to you. And a lot of times that's not going to happen because, as we said, this is volunteer, it's discretionary, and if you contact that E5 or E6 or E7, and they might not respond because they got something else going on, and nobody's making them respond. But as at the first sergeant level, I pounded home that I am available. If you call nobody else, you can call me. That has to be understood, that the channel is there and that it's responsive. Otherwise, it's not going to be used, it's not going to be effective.
One of the things I've noticed in my experience working with NCOs is that the most effective organizations are the ones where all of the NCOs are on the same page, all the way from the first sergeant down. Now, unfortunately, I haven't experienced a lot of that, but I have experienced it in the past where every NCO is not only supporting the unit, but they support each other. Whether you go to the E5, the E6, the E7, or the E8, or even the E9, effective organizations are all synchronized and working in parallel with each other. In my experience in many units in the Guard, it's like, the E8's going this way, but the E6 is going that way, and the E5 doesn't care, and everybody's going all over the place, and there is no fluid communication or support within the NCO ranks. Remember, the NCOs are the backbone of the Army. Imagine having a spine where the vertebrae don't bend and move with each other, right? Then you're going to have a broken back and things don't work well. NCOs are the same way. What are we doing within our organizations to let the NCOs be on that same page? How are we working together? What are we doing not only to support our lower enlisted, but how are we supporting each other? Is the E6 looking out for the E5 and saying, hey, let's make sure we're all using the same language? Is the E7 looking at the E6s and E5s and ensuring that they're developing their people the right way? Is the E8 looking at the E7s and saying, hey, are you communicating the intent the right way? Are you being a supportive leader, and are you thinking strategically to get the organization to the level where it needs to be? Not only is the NCO Support Channel good for the lower enlisted individuals, but we gotta, as NCOs, talk to each other. We gotta support each other. We gotta love each other. We gotta know that if I go straight, I know exactly where all the other NCOs are going to help support me and get to the objective that I need to get to.
I agree, and in my situation, I don't share the same MOS as my unit. I'm a medical MOS. I'm a first sergeant of a signal company. So operationally, I don't have expertise to offer them. So my value comes in other ways, as far as developing leaders and teaching instruction and values and that type of an example that I derive. That's the value that I offer. But thinking as leaders, as developers of soldiers, there is the value that can be offered by me to drive them in the same direction.
Yep. And if you think of the discipline of the organization, the performance of the organization, how well we utilize time, that all can be boiled down to the effectiveness of the NCO channel. I mean, if you got a bunch of people who have crappy uniforms, who aren't in regulation, and the NCOs aren't saying anything about it, it's not going to change. Every organization that I've been in where the NCOs were dialed in, the discipline was great, the morale was high, and they performed at a stunning, outstanding level every single time. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen all across the Guard.
Nope.
We have NCOs bad-mouthing each other, saying, oh, you're stupid, you don't know that. They don't work. I feel like there's not an intent or an effort given to bring the NCOs together on a regular basis and say, we're all going that way, no matter what. Because if the NCOs can lock arms and understand the left and right, who's got their left and right as NCOs, I feel like just like the spine of a human body, it won't be broken. If somebody bends a little bit, the other will bend the other way to ensure integrity of the unit and the success of the organization.
And the discretionary effort there, the fact that we're even talking about this, so me as a first sergeant, my discretionary effort looks like this. I have to devote brain power and time to even think and make this a priority for me to address. Then I have to develop what am I going to say the next drill when I get the NCOs together. I'm going to have to develop that dialogue or that script. I'm going to have to write it down. I'm going to have to practice it. I'm going to have to tweak it. So there's X amount of time, another chunk of my days, that I'm going to devote just to that little task so I can pull it off successfully. Because I've purposefully made it a priority, and now I have to execute the priority. So discretionary. I cannot do that at all, and nobody's going to fire me. But that's not how we should choose to do business.
That's right. And if you're an E5 or E6 or even an E4 wanting to be an E5, here's the most powerful question you can ask your E7 or E8. You look them in the eyes or her in the eyes and say, what can I do better to help serve the mission of the unit, the commander, and how do I bring our organization to the next level? You ask that question, and you have a leader that is willing to provide that effort to bring the NCO channel together, then you will just be better than most people. They'll probably promote you on the spot. No, I'm just kidding. No promise there. But the point is of this whole thing is we all as NCOs or future NCOs have to constantly think, do we have integrity within the NCO rank? Is the NCO support channel dialed in? And if there's any type of conflict or issue there, we got to make it an utmost priority to resolve that issue, to bring integrity back to the backbone. If you break the spine of a human body, the limbs don't work. You die. The heart stops. Okay? A commander with no NCOs is nothing. Truly. There is nobody to execute the intent, because then he or she would just talk to themselves and say, I want to do this, and then go execute it. Okay? Take it seriously. Make the NCO support channel a priority in your organization, and I promise you, I will guarantee that your organization will see almost immediate success when you bring in those NCOs together. So, comment, what are you going to do when you go back to your organization to make it a priority to bring the NCOs together and enhance the support chain within your organization? Can't wait to read what you guys post.